Welcome to Living in Grand Rapids, the podcast. I am Josh May.
I am Katie Arnold.
I am Leah Hills.
And I'm Ross Bacon.
And we are four of the May Group Realtors with Remax of Grand Rapids. Excited to come to you today. Another episode, another podcast episode. We're going to change things up today and talk about yoga. Is everybody calm right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very calm.
Very
Okay.
serene.
We're going to use our yoga voices today. And Katie, I want you to kick this off. I do feel like it's important that you tell the viewers a little bit more about yourself because you are a certified yoga expert. Is that what you are? I mean, let's dig deeper into this.
You could say I'm an expert, but I am a RYT 200 yoga instructor, which means I am registered with the Yoga Alliance, which is kind of the overall governing body of yoga. And I specialize in vinyasa yoga. So you can think of like the flow style. It's often seen in like a hot variation, and restorative yoga. So we use a lot of props. We slow things way down. And then I'm also a meditation instructor. So I know this episode today might be a little bit out of our team's comfort zone, but it's very much in my wheelhouse, and it's National Yoga Month. So we have to talk about yoga.
I love it. And you know what? I'm comfortable. And you know what? I'm so comfortable that I'm going to kick things off today. Are you guys okay with that?
Please do.
I'm going to kick things off with a studio that I've been to before in Grand Rapids on the Northwest side. It's AM Yoga. In fact, we shot a 3x3 here a couple years ago, and we all got to just be in our element. You know, Katie and Abby were there and teaching me some new poses, and it was an incredible environment. Now, this is a powerful vinyasa. Is that how you pronounce it, Katie?
Yes, vinyasa.
Vinyasa yoga and meditation studio. They've got a 365 program to help you to commit to daily practice. And, you know, they also do community classes at the Graham. I've heard of a lot of friends and family members that have been to AM Yoga, and all different classes for different experience levels. And when I was there, you know, it just felt good. It felt clean. It felt like a place that you wanted to be practicing yoga. So I really enjoyed it on the Northwest side. You got to check it out this month, next month, the month after. Who's next?
You know, I'll go. You know, my the extent of my yoga career here in Grand Rapids is very limited. You know, I would say the only experience I have is a little bit of yoga on an app. I do know a little bit about Funky Buddha. I know they have quite a few locations around town driven by. I know they offer a wide range of different types of classes they have, but the hot power yoga is a pretty big one. A lot of people say. I would say I gravitate towards that. I like a good sweat. I like feeling like I worked hard. So I've never done it. I've always been kind of interested in trying out hot yoga. That's about all I know about it. I'm sure Katie can kind of elaborate a little bit more and why that's a thing, and tell us a little bit more about it.
Funky Buddha actually has 4 different locations in West Michigan. So they have one in Easttown, Forest Hills. There's the new one that's in downtown, and then they have a Holland location as well. I've been to their studio several times. I personally, at least the Easttown location that I've been to, I don't think it's as hot as some other studios, but they do pump in the like humidity with the heat of the space. So you are still going to get like a nice good sweat in there.
Now, I do have a question because some of you may know this. Well, maybe you don't. I mean, we've all worked out together, but I potentially hold the record for the person that sweats the most in Grand Rapids while working out. So do you think that I would actually be allowed in Funky Buddha? Like, is that okay? Or what do you think, Katie?
So there's a lot of different hot yoga studios around Grand Rapids. They do pump in a little bit of heat and humidity to their studio as well. And you would be allowed in. It is often recommended if you're going to do a hot class to like bring a towel with you, whether you
just lay down a tarp. Put a tarp down, and then Josh's yoga mat.
Well, I think he'll probably slip all over the tarp, but if you have a
like
towel,
slip and slide.
Yeah, Josh would probably turn yoga into a slip and slide, which adds a whole other element. But bring a towel. They clean up after classes, so you might leave a little bit of a puddle behind, but we've all done that from time to time.
And I'm just trying to be real here because I think there's other listeners out there that are the same as me. They want to know they're going to be okay if they're in that hot environment and they're just going to be sweating all over. Anyway, enough about me, guys. Let's keep talking about yoga.
I have one where it's yoga zen. Now I'm going to be with kind of Ross on this, where it's kind of out of my element. I'm with Josh on the hot yoga. I don't know if I could do the hot yoga. I got to try it though. So maybe we need to do a team hot yoga sesh. Who knows? Yoga zen. They offer youth classes. They do a massage and Reiki body work sessions, which that actually sounds pretty interesting. And they're actually moving to a new and larger location soon, but they have classes, all kinds of, what is it?
They have vinyasa, they have power, they have like some core focus classes. They have some adapted classes that often will incorporate chairs into the practices. It can veer more towards kind of like an older population that maybe has a harder time getting down to the ground, or people who maybe are injured. That can be a really great way to make yoga more accessible.
We'll get Scotty in on that class.
Yeah. And then they do a Reiki and restorative yoga combo class as well. So they have a lot offering them. And the owner of the studio, I haven't been to Yoga Zen, their studio in person, but I have practiced with the owner of that studio at other locations before she opened her space. And she's great. So I definitely recommend that to other people.
You know, and clearly, Katie, you are the expert. So I'm going to let you really just close this down with one more place. And because, you know, when you listen to Leah and Ross talk, I don't know, I just didn't get excited. But when I listened to you talk,
we're giving it a try here.
When I listened to Katie talk, I feel like, you know what, this is something I'm going to go do this afternoon.
I'm super passionate about yoga. It is something I have practiced for years and I love it. But the last studio that we really want to highlight is Kula Yoga. So Kula in Sanskrit translates to community of the heart. Sanskrit is a lot of the terms that you'll hear in a yoga class. If you think of like chaturanga, that's Sanskrit. You'll hear a combination of Sanskrit terms and kind of the English translations in a lot of different yoga classes, depending on the studio. Some allow it, some actually don't. Kula is very community focused. They're located in the East Hills neighborhood. They have some outdoor space at their studio, so they offer some outdoor classes and special events and stuff. They have a sound bath coming up, which if you've never been to a sound bath before, it's a really cool experience where they use like sound bowls. They sometimes bring in drums or gongs. It's super healing and very cool. But they have a wide variety of classes there, including vinyasa, slow flow, restorative, yin, yoga nidra, which is like kind of what they call yogic sleep. It's super restorative. It's like a longer meditation. And then booty yoga, which is kind of like a dance variation of yoga. I've never tried it before, but people seem to really enjoy it.
I love it.
Yeah. And before we close it out, Josh, Grand Rapids has so many yoga studios, so many small yoga studios. We've talked about a few that have multiple locations, have had more years under their belt to grow. But I want to highlight the fact that there are a ton of studios in Grand Rapids. There's Flip Dog Yoga, there's Yoga Fever, there's Heights Yoga Project, there's Pure Hot Yoga GR, there's Cascade Yoga Studio, there's Twisted Hot Yoga, and I'm sure there's even more that we haven't even mentioned today, but it is probably pretty guaranteed that if someone wants to try yoga, they have a yoga studio like in their neighborhood.
Sounds like there's no excuse for us not giving this a shot, guys. Ross, you're in. Leah, you're in. Katie, we know you're in. This is a good conversation. I do want to reiterate, everybody, you can tell that Katie is the professional, and I'm happy that she led the conversation today because she's got years and years and years and years of experience with yoga. Listening to you chat's pretty cool, Katie. I can hear your passion come through, which is awesome.
Yeah. And I mean, not to mention a lot of these places, especially after the last year and a half that we've all been through, offer online variations as well. So if there are people who are maybe not feeling comfortable going back in studio just yet, there's a lot of breath work and things that go on in yoga. There's always online studios too, or online studios from these studios in Grand Rapids.
I love it. Well, good conversation today, guys. Katie, is there any way you want to wrap this up? Since again, you are the expert here.
No, let's just let everybody go try some yoga, and then get back to living in Grand Rapids. Thanks for listening to Living in Grand Rapids, the podcast. Please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast and share with your friends. You can find us on Instagram at MayGroupGR or online at marketgrandrapids.com.